There were 62 chairs set out for the service. I counted them once when I arrived. Then again when I realized I wasn't meant to sit in any of them. Counting gave my hands something to do. It kept my mind from drifting into places I wasn't ready to visit yet. People grieve differently. Some cry, some pray, some collapse under the weight of it all. I count. My wife, Celine Harrow, had chosen the chairs herself. Brushed steel frames, clean lines, neutral colors. They photograph better, she said while scrolling through layouts on her tablet, like this was a press event and not her father's funeral. Only 61 seats were occupied. The empty one was beside her, the family seat, the place where a husband normally sits close enough to be touched without asking. I stepped toward it automatically. That's when the usher stopped me. He didn't raise his voice, didn't look uncomfortable. He looked prepared. "Sir," he said quietly, blocking my path, "you can stand in the back." For a moment I thought he'd made a mistake, so I waited. I waited for Celine to turn around, for confusion to cross her face, for recognition. She never looked back. So I walked past the rows of seated guests and stopped near a decorative tree planted in a marble base. The kind of thing rich people buy when they want nature to behave. The funeral program trembled in my hands. My last name was spelled wrong. Twice. It was a small detail, but it felt deliberate. No one offered me a tissue. No one whispered an apology. No one seemed surprised I was standing there alone. That's when I understood something I'd been avoiding. She hadn't just excluded me. She had prepared them for my absence. Then Celine stood up to speak. Black silk dress, heels sharp enough to sound authoritative against stone. She spoke about her father, Arthur Harrow, visionary, builder, legacy maker. She cried in controlled intervals, enough to seem human, not enough to lose control. She thanked donors, executives, board members, and family friends. She didn't thank me. She didn't mention me. Not as her husband, not as family, not even as a courtesy. When she returned to her seat, she leaned toward the man beside her, the man sitting where I should have been. Gray suit, relaxed posture, too comfortable for someone who'd just buried a stranger. She whispered something. He laughed softly, not quietly enough. On the way out, she passed close enough for me to smell her perfume, the new one she said she'd chosen just for herself. She dropped her handkerchief right in front of me. White linen, stitched initials, a small performance. I bent to pick it up, still playing my part, and that's when I saw it. A folded document inside her clutch, legal-sized, clipped, my name in bold, a case number beneath it. I didn't need to read further. 2 days after her father's funeral, she was scheduled to inherit a fortune, and she had already decided I wouldn't be there to see it. I didn't find love letters. I found files, messages where she discussed me like a liability, risk, timing, exposure, no anger, no guilt, just calculation. She wasn't leaving because she loved someone else. She was leaving because she had decided I was no longer useful. I wasn't a husband. I was a variable. And once she solved for the inheritance, there was no place left for me in the equation. The will reading took place at the Harrow estate, the kind of place designed to remind you who had power long before you arrived. Iron gates, perfect gravel. Security cameras mounted just high enough to feel judgmental. I arrived early, not because I was eager, because I didn't know what else to do with myself. A staff member met me at the front steps, glanced at a clipboard, then hesitated. "You'll need to use the side entrance," she said finally. Not unkind, just efficient. The service entrance curved around the house, past kitchens and storage rooms, places meant to stay invisible. It felt intentional, like Arthur Harrow was still arranging the seating from beyond the grave. Inside, the study was already occupied. Deep leather chairs, dark wood walls, animal trophies staring down like they'd once lost something important. Celine sat near the center. Her black funeral clothes were gone. Now she wore slate gray, clean, neutral, professional. Grief had expired. Beside her sat the man from the funeral. Gray suit again, gold-accented shoes, relaxed posture. The posture of someone who believed the ending had already been written. I took a seat near the edge of the room, half lit, half forgotten. No one greeted me. The lawyer arrived a few minutes later, carrying a folder thick enough to require both hands. He placed it on the table carefully, like it contained something volatile. He cleared his throat and began listing assets. Properties in 3 states, an apartment overseas, vehicles worth more than my childhood home. Each item landed like a reminder that this wasn't my world. Celine listened without reacting. Not impressed, not overwhelmed, prepared. She'd rehearsed this moment. Then the lawyer said it. To Celine Maris Harrow, I leave the sum of $1 million to be held in trust. For half a second, nothing happened. Then Celine smiled. A small, polite smile. I'm sorry, she said evenly. Did you say 100 million? The lawyer didn't look up. No, he said. 1. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was violent. Celine's smile didn't fade immediately. It froze. She blinked once, then again. The man beside her shifted in his chair. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. The lawyer didn't wait. He reached for a sealed envelope. Waxed, handwritten. Arthur Harrow's handwriting. He opened it and began to read. Arthur's voice came through the words cold and measured. He wrote that he'd watched his daughter change, that her visits had become performances, that she brought company into his home and treated loyalty like a joke. He wrote, "You love the inheritance more than you loved your father." Celine's face drained of color. Her hands tightened around the armrests. For the first time since the funeral, she looked small. The lawyer continued, "And to the man who married my daughter anyway, to the man who endured my contempt with dignity, to the man who stayed even when he should have left." I felt my chest tighten. The room felt suddenly too quiet. The lawyer looked up. Mason Kieran Vale. My name, spoken clearly, deliberately. I leave the remainder of my estate. For a moment, my body didn't respond. No relief, no triumph, just shock. The man beside Celine stood up so fast his chair scraped violently across the floor. Celine didn't move. She stared at me like I'd broken a rule she thought was permanent, like gravity had reversed without warning. I didn't feel powerful. I felt exposed. This wasn't a victory. It was an unveiling. The lawyer began explaining next steps, paperwork, signatures, legal confirmations. I didn't hear any of it. I stood up. The room seemed to tilt slightly as I moved. Celine finally reacted. "Mason," she said sharply, not softly, not kindly, urgently. I walked toward the door. Her heels clicked behind me, fast and uneven. "Mason," she said again. For the first time in years, she wasn't composed. She wasn't controlling the room. She was chasing. And for the first time in years, I didn't turn around. She found me the next morning outside my job. I wasn't surprised. Celine had always known where to find me. She was leaning against her car like she hadn't erased me from her life 48 hours earlier. Perfect hair, dark sunglasses, calm posture. Grief was gone now. What remained was something sharper. Hunger. "We need to talk," she said, lifting her sunglasses just enough for me to see her eyes. I tried to walk past her. She stepped in front of me with practiced precision, the same way she used to intercept waiters when they brought the wrong wine. "We need to be smart about this," she said. "Emotional decisions won't help either of us." Either of us, as if we were still a team. She didn't apologize, she didn't explain. She opened her bag and handed me a folder. Tabs, highlights, sticky notes. A plan. "You don't understand this world," she said calmly. "You'll lose it. The money, the leverage, everything. Let me manage it. You'll get a fair portion." A portion, like she was offering severance. For a moment, just a moment, I felt that old instinct rise up, the habit of letting her decide, letting her steer. Then I remembered the empty chair. "No," I said. One word. Her face tightened. Not anger. Calculation. "You'll call me," she said quietly. "You always do." This time I didn't. Later that week, a different attorney contacted me. Not the one who read the will. Someone younger. Careful. "There are supplemental conditions," he said. "You should read them yourself." The addendum was short and brutal. A significant portion of the estate was placed in a time-locked trust, inaccessible unless I remained legally divorced from Celine for 18 consecutive months. If I reconciled, officially or unofficially, That portion would be redirected elsewhere, to a charity Arthur Harrow had chosen, a rescue foundation. At the bottom of the page, underlined in his handwriting, was a single sentence. If you ever crawl back into her cage, you were never the prisoner. I stared at it for a long time. Arthur hadn't just given me money. He had built a safeguard, a test. Celine didn't know about the clause at first, but when she did, she changed. Anger came first, then nostalgia, then carefully timed vulnerability. She sent photos from our early years, trips we'd taken, smiles we'd rehearsed. She talked about us like us was an investment that deserved reconsideration. But something had shifted inside me. I stopped responding emotionally. I listened, and that's when I found it. Proof that she had tried, quietly weeks before her father died, to remove the disqualification clause from the will. She hadn't just planned to leave me. She had planned to erase the consequences. When I finally confronted her on the phone, she didn't deny it. She didn't cry. She asked one question. "What do you want?" That's when I understood something fundamental about her. She didn't believe in guilt, or shame, or forgiveness. She believed in leverage, so I gave her none. "I want nothing from you," I said calmly, "and I'm giving you nothing back. No money, no silence, no protection." There was a pause. For the first time, she didn't know what to say. She tried to speak. I ended the call. The divorce finalized quietly. No drama, no public statements. The trust stayed locked. And the rescue foundation Arthur named didn't just receive the redirected funds. I donated to it myself. Not out of spite, out of clarity. I visited once. Watched the volunteers walk dogs no one wanted. Old, scarred, discarded. They didn't ask for leverage. They didn't negotiate. They just waited. And for the first time since the funeral, I felt something loosen inside my chest. People ask me if I'm angry, if I miss her. The truth is, I don't miss the lies. I don't miss feeling small. But sometimes I miss the person I thought she was. That version of Celine that only existed because I needed her to. Not long ago, I received a letter. No return address. One sentence. "You ruined everything." I didn't keep it. I let the dogs tear it apart. Because she's wrong. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped cleaning up the mess she made, and that was worth more than all the money in the world.